Hey guys, my name is Matimio, and today the Battlefield 4 multiplayer has finally been revealed. The day we have all been waiting for has arrived, and I think it's safe to say that DICE has delivered with this demonstration and this trailer. We got to see a bunch of the different vehicles that are in the multiplayer, a glimpse at the commander mode. We also got to see the amazing amount of destruction, like wow, it was fantastic. And so for today's video, what I'm going to do is go over a lot of the stuff that I saw, outline some of the changes that we're going to have in the upcoming game, and really what we can expect for the multiplayer in Battlefield 4. So the first thing that caught my eye is that squad sizes have been increased to 5. And while this isn't going to have a dramatic effect on the way that the game is played, it will be kind of nice. I mean, you'll have another person to spawn on if it's the same way that Battlefield 3 works, and you'll also have another person just to watch your back. So the next thing that's been confirmed is the Suppression Effect. The soldier at one point gets a suppression assist point, and while it's not clear exactly how it's been implemented, it could be like it is in Battlefield 3, where it increases your bullet deviation and also blurs your screen, or it could also be nerfed a little bit, where it doesn't reduce your accuracy. But what is clear is that DICE really likes this mechanic. They like that it adds a further immersion, it differs themselves from other first-person shooters out there, and that it's going to be in Battlefield 4. So the next thing, which I'm sure many of you noticed right at the start of the video, is that the weapon itself has two different scopes on it. He has a holographic scope and then what appears to be an ACOG. It's kind of hard to say since he never switches on over to it throughout the entire demonstration, but what it does mean is that this is going to give you as the player a lot more options and versatility for your weapons on how you want to approach combat. If you get into a close encounter engagement, or you know that you're going into a building where everything is going to be up close, you can use the red dot sight. Or if you're going to run out into the open, you're in a large field, you can slap on over the ACOG scope to be more effective at those ranges. It will be interesting to see how DICE balances everything out, but when you really get down to it, what it means is that the weapons themselves are going to be way more versatile. Now, as the trailer moves on, we get to probably my favorite part of the video. The soldier pulls out a grenade launcher, he fires at a pillar, there is a tank that was spotted directly above it, it crumbles to the ground, a recon player goes up, plants C4, detonates it, gets the kill. It was epic and amazing. And this confirms a bunch of things. The first thing is that the recon players now have C4. This was something that a lot of Battlefielders were hoping was the case in the upcoming game. It is now confirmed. And not only that, but this demonstrates that destruction is on a completely other level. I mean, Battlefield 3, it's great. You being able to blow up walls, particle effects flying all over the place, but this doesn't touch it like at all. Being able to crumble roads, buildings, and dramatically affect the environment to allow you and your team to take advantage of it is just awesome. And what we were really hoping was going to be the case in Battlefield 3, we never got it, but it's awesome to see that that is exactly what is happening in Battlefield 4. So now that the soldiers are making their way above ground, we get our first glimpse at a new spotting animation mechanic. The soldier raises his arm, he points in the general direction of the enemy Jeep, and then it spots it just like it was in Battlefield 3. But what's different is that initial animation, and this is going to severely change the way that you approach spotting in the game, because currently in Battlefield 3, the way it works is that you can shoot and spot at the same time. You do it all the time, you're always spamming the spot button, there's no negative for doing so, and that's what everyone does. But with a animation in place, you're going to have some thought process behind it. If someone's way out in the open, they have no cover, then spotting the target is probably a good idea before you start shooting. But if they're near cover, they're just next to a building, then you may just want to start shooting at them immediately before they run for cover so that you can secure that kill. What makes this so interesting now is that if you don't get that kill by the player that was in the building, you can no longer have the spot on them like you would in Battlefield 3, and it's going to change the way that everything works. They then make their way on over to a boat, which is essentially a tank in the water. It has 30mm high explosive rounds, a tow missile, which it uses against an enemy boat. It has IR smoke. It's a beast. And what's also really cool is that when you dismantle dismount from it or when you try to eject, instead of going into the water, which would be just silly, you go into high-speed jet skis, which you can use to go find another vehicle or go on land. I was always kind of curious on how they were going to approach that. If they do have really large maps with a lot of water in it, it would be kind of silly to kind of always go down with the ship. You would hope that there would be at least some way that you could survive those encounters without having to go in the water and swimming across the map, and I think that this was a pretty solid solution to that. Now, as the players go in the elevators, which is awesome, elevators have been confirmed, I wanted to point out at the bottom left-hand side of the screen, right above where everyone's squad is, you can kind of see what looks like perk specializations. It has sprint, ammo, grenade, and I have no idea what that fourth one is, but the meter seems to be increasing and decreasing as the match happens, and I have no idea what causes that. It seems like there's sometimes when he's in conflict that the meter increases after he gets a kill or he spots for someone, it will increase, but then it also decreases significantly quickly. So I'm not exactly sure what that is. If you guys have any ideas on what that is, let everyone know down below in the comment section, because it could be their way of implementing specializations in there, where if you're doing really well, you have all the specializations at your disposal, or at least a couple of them, but if you're not, you only have one. We also get our first glimpse at the commander mode, and while this demonstration doesn't really showcase too much of it, and I'll probably make a video dedicated to just explaining how that's all going to work and what they have in place, the basics of it is that you are going to be able to direct your teammates to attack certain positions. You can place down UAVs, counter UAVs, supply drops, vehicle drops, and then also call in certain offensive things. There was the example in the video where he calls in a heavy artillery. It also looked like there was an AC-130 in another trailer. A lot of different options there, and it's all going to depend on how well your team is doing. So if your team is doing really well, the more resources that will be at your disposal and the better and cooler things that you will be able to launch. I'm sure that they will go into more detail here in the near future as to exactly how everything works, but as of right now, the commander is going to have a significant amount of power on the battlefield. So now as we move to the end of the trailer, we get to the craziest part, and that absolutely blew me away, where this skyscraper that had the sea capture point literally crumbles to the ground. I was not expecting this. I knew, like I said earlier, I knew the destruction was going to be significantly larger than it was in Battlefield 3, but not to this extent, especially when there's a capture point directly on the building. And so the building crumbles, it falls to the ground. Anyone that's nearby, I'm sure, gets just killed, splat to a bug. But what's awesome about it is that DICE has taken this all into consideration, and now the capture point is in the rubble. It changes the way that the map works, but it still functions. It doesn't just destroy everything and cause a big barrier to be there where you can't cross. You now have to go in and capture it in the rubble. Awesome. I love how DICE is approaching everything. I cannot wait for them to show off more maps and how they're trying to balance those maps as well and incorporate the destruction. But this was such an amazing demonstration and nothing that I was expecting. And then the final little tidbit here is at the very end, you see a soldier go for a knife kill, and then he clicks the counter knife where he switches that blade around and then stabs him in the stomach or stabs him in the chest and then grabs his tags away. I'm not exactly sure how I feel about that mechanic. If you get behind someone and you go for the knife, it kind of should be a guaranteed kill at that point. I mean, you snuck up behind them, you should get that kill. But what it kind of looks like in the video is that the guy starts his animation in front, and so maybe if the soldier is in front and you're both are facing each other, then you can counter knife them. Not exactly sure, but it'll be interesting to see how that all works out in the end. But that is about it for this demo, guys. I hope you enjoyed this little analysis. If there's anything I missed, make sure to let everyone know down below in the comments section. But yeah, guys, until tomorrow, have a good one and take it easy.